Hi everyone, it's David Winter here from Canuck Play. It's been a very long time since I've done a dev blog. I try to do this once every couple of weeks during development, and then over the past few months after Maximum Football 2018 was released, things just got really busy with all kinds of new partnerships and new licensing agreements and new business partners, and it's been a kind of a whirlwind few months, so I have simply not been able to allocate a lot of time to do these dev blogs, but I'm hoping to be able to do that more often now that I'm back into just pure development mode. And so I'd just like to send out a thanks to all the supporters of Maximum Football 2018. It's been going very well so far, very happy with the sales. And just a little note for those people that might still be on the shelf. 100% of the proceeds and the revenue generated from Maximum Football sales go back into the next iteration of the title. Neither myself or my business partner at Spear Interactive take a paycheck from this project yet, so your purchasers are not going to buy us new cars or things like that. We are funneling 100% of the revenue into new editions of the game, new features, better graphics, that sort of thing. So we are still in growth mode right now, and so every time somebody buys the game, it helps us add more things to the follow-up editions. So one of the other things that you can do if you're interested in providing a little bit more support and helping us get along is subscribe to our Patreon. Link to the Patreon will be down below. There'll also be a little link here. So check that out if you're interested. Patreon subscribers get one of these really awesome t-shirts and a fun little football. And they also get news and updates prior to the general public, so you can find out a little bit more about what's going on in the world of Canuck Play and Maximum Football before everybody else. So do check out our Patreon. So one of the big things that we did a couple of weeks ago was spend 2 days in Toronto at Fast Motion Studios motion capture studio. And you've seen videos of that on YouTube, and you've seen videos of that on Twitter and screenshots and Instagram and that sort of thing. So there's lots of content out there, but I'll put links to those things in the description as well. We had a very good couple of days in the studio. We worked with multiple athletes from the McMaster Marauders, so big shout out to those guys. And one of the things that I think people would notice with the motion capture that we did last year and in 2017 is we used a motion capture suit, and it's basically a suit that you put on. It's made of straps. It's got little sensors in the arms and the wrists and things, and it tracks your movement. But it's a very limited type of motion capture system. There's a great deal of motions that you cannot do with that kind of a suit, simply because its capture rate is not very fast and the sensors get confused very easily. So there's it's a good way to. It helped us get started a couple of years ago, and it was a good stepping stone, but certainly didn't really give us the product that we were aiming for in terms of animations. One of the most significant differences between the suit that we were using and the motion capture data that we got a couple of weeks ago was the suit captures at 15 frames a second, and the motion capture studio does 120 frames a second. So it's a very significant difference in quality of motion. It's also much more robust. When you try to do tackles with that suit, not only is it not capturing fast enough, but all the sensors get jostled and moved around, and it messes up the data. Whereas with the camera-based motion capture, there are enough sensors and things that even if one got knocked off, it actually doesn't affect the data. So our tackle animation, our dives, our lunges, our hurdles, all the different movements are captured at a much higher frame rate, and we're able to capture the nuances of very subtle body movements that the suit that we had couldn't capture. So really looking forward to seeing what that looks like in the game. So along with motion capture, one of the new things that we're doing for Maximum Football 2019 is improved player models. Every year we go through the process of evaluating what can we change to improve the visuals, and in 2017 we started out with player models that were reasonably basic. 2018, last year's title, we improved the player models dramatically. I thought they looked really good, but there was still a lot of room for improvement. So this year I spent some time in Montreal working with a 3D modeling company in Montreal, and we are going to completely redo all the player models in the game. Maximum Football has multiple body styles, so your kicker doesn't look like your center, your quarterback has a unique body style, that sort of thing. So we are not only redoing all the meshes that make up the player bodies, but that changes how the uniform textures are put together, and so that has ripple effects on things like the uniform editor, the player editor, all those things that you don't necessarily think about. It's not just a case of, well, I'm going to take this mesh and put in this mesh and it's just going to work. It never actually does that. So it's a big project. We've already started to show a few in progress screenshots of the quarterback work in progress, but it is a big project, and it takes some time to move forward to do it properly. We can't just throw some things together on Photoshop and say this is what we're doing. We actually show you actual real work in progress images moving towards that final step. So look for more of that coming over the next few weeks. We announced a couple of weeks ago that we have reached an agreement with Wilson Sports to put the Wilson GST ball in the game. This is the actual football. It's for those that are not aware, the ball itself is leather, but the stripes are synthetic and are sewn into the ball. I don't know if the camera can really pick that up very well, but you can see maybe the stitching that holds the stripe onto the ball. So it's interesting that they're trying that again. You'll also note on this ball that there's little dots everywhere all over it. It's because we used this ball a couple of weeks ago during our motion capture session, and the dots allow the camera to pick up the ball, and it even tracks the rotation. So as you rotate the ball, as you throw a spiral, the cameras pick up the fact that the ball is rotating, and so we can capture rotation and all of its nuances as being passed back and forth. So this is the ball that'll be in the game. Shortly after we announced Wilson, we announced that we've partnered with Mokum Gloves. They are just sort of getting into the football space with their gloves, and so this is the gloves. They sent us a sample, which is really quite nice. And so this is their glove, and it's a large fits me. So you can see that the glove is leather and has little holes in it, so your fingers can breathe and you can get more grip against the ball. So really happy to have Mokum Gloves in the game and bring them on as a partner. Along with Mokum Gloves, we've also announced that we will be including Phenom Elite Gloves, which we're very happy to have them on board. And it's interesting that we are able to provide two options. Different manufacturers are so excited to get into Maximum Football that they've agreed that it doesn't have to be exclusive one manufacturer. So both of them are in the game, and as you are editing the player, you can your favorite player, you can go through the options and change which kind of glove you want to use, and it really is going to, I think, help bring a lot of uniqueness to the individual players on the screen, because they'll all have slightly different looks and feels. So along with our new partners, Wilson and Mokum Phenom, we are also having conversations with other manufacturers for equipment, and so look for those coming in the next few weeks. So along with strategic partners like Wilson and Mokum and Phenom, we also get asked quite a bit about licensing partners. Are we going to put real teams and real players into the game? Because we are the only game on the market that offers Canadian rules, one of the most common questions we get asked is, well, what's the state of discussions with the Canadian League? And simply put, there are no discussions with the Canadian League. We've not spoken to them since April of 2016. And they seem very happy with their iPhone game. One of those other things that we're looking at is college licensing. It's not a secret that we're in discussions. We've been having discussions with college licensors in both Canada and the United States. Those discussions are ongoing. I really can't go into specifics about what we're discussing and where we are. I can just simply say that yes, we're talking to those people that that we need to talk to try and make that happen. It's a very long process to do that. The initial phone call or the initial email goes very quickly. You get a lot of interest and there's a flurry of activity and everybody gets an understanding of what it is they want to try and do. And then it gets passed to the various legal departments and the whole thing slows to a crawl. So we are going through the process now and it just takes time. So hopefully we'll have some good news for that coming out in a little while. We do get asked also about potential other professional leagues. Obviously the Alliance League launched a few nights ago. We've reached out to them multiple times. We've not had anybody reply back. Clearly we're sending our contact attempts to through the wrong channels. We need to keep trying and find the right person to talk to and see how we can make that happen. But we're trying, we've reached out, we just need to find the right person to talk to. So that's kind of where we are when it comes to licensing. So one of the other quick updates that I wanted to give you was the state of Dynasty Mode. Obviously, it's no secret that Dynasty Mode is our big new feature for 2019. And I see some people asking on Twitter and Facebook and whatever else about, you know, I want to see screens, I want to see what you're doing, that sort of thing. We have no screens to show you. I am not expecting to have any screens available to show off to the public until April or May. What I'm doing right now is a lot of back-end development, things like creating prospect lists, things like creating school attributes, things like setting up the recruiting calls, processes, that sort of thing. So there are screens that are there for me to interact with the data, but they're not screens that are really set up to be final artwork. I mean, they're placeholder, functional screens at best. So it wouldn't be anything that I would show off because there's no point in it. But that's essentially where we are with College Dynasty. Things are progressing along and hope to be able to start showing off screens and talking more about the workflow and the feature set in around April or May. And finally, a few little housekeeping updates. We are working on a brand new website for Max Football Game. It's the website. We launched it last year very quickly. It was a very slapped together website. I mean, I'm the first to admit that we needed a website that was specific to the game so that we could focus on sales of the game and not so much sales of Canuck play. So when we partnered with Spear Interactive, we put that together very quickly. But it's time now to give that a complete overhaul, and we're working with a local Peterborough company here called Wicked Marketing, and they have taken on the task of basically building a brand new experience for our game website. So I don't have a date yet for when that's going to launch, but obviously we'll keep everybody up to date with what's going on with that, and when we launch it, obviously everybody will know. So look for that. And so that's kind of it for this update. It's a little bit longer than some of the other ones, but there's been a lot going on. Again, if you're not already a follower on Twitter, check out Canuck Play at CanuckGS, Golf Sierra, or Max Football Game, Those are our two primary Twitter accounts that you can follow. You can also follow us on Facebook/CanuckPlay or maxfootballgame.com. And also remember that we've got the Patreon. All the support helps us build a better game going forward, so make sure you check that out and get yourself a t-shirt. We'll also be trying to do some more interesting things with the Patreon. We are looking at potentially adding to the value of a Patreon by naming one of the in-game trophies after Patreon subscribers of a certain level. So we are trying to sort out what that means, but watch for that. So that sort of wraps us up for today, and I hope everybody is enjoying Maximum Football. We're getting a lot of great feedback. The game has had a number of content updates since we launched, and those are meeting with great reviews and people are having a blast with it. So we're looking forward to a lot of great things in 2019. Again, thanks a lot.